During a road trip with her family, my wife let them pick the hotel, and I had to sleep on the couch. I remember the day I started planning our coastal road trip. It was a dreary Monday morning at the office, rain pelting against the windows, as I sat staring at my computer screen. The numbers on the quarterly report blurring together after my third consecutive weekend of overtime. My shoulders ached from hunching over spreadsheets, and my phone wouldn't stop buzzing with urgent emails. That's when I decided Emma and I needed to escape, just the two of us. The open road and 5 blissful days away from everything. Hey! I texted her during my coffee break. What if we took that drive up the coast next month? Just you and me. Her response came back immediately. God. Yes, please get me out of here. That night, I pulled out my laptop and started mapping our journey. A winding road along the shoreline, stopping at viewpoints, tiny seaside towns, and culminating in 3 nights at the Driftwood, a boutique hotel perched on cliffs overlooking the ocean. It wasn't cheap, but the pictures showed private balconies, a soaking tub, and floor-to-ceiling windows that opened to the sound of crashing waves. I pictured Emma wrapped in one of their plush robes, sipping wine as the sun set over the water. After 5 years of marriage and 2 promotions that came with twice the workload, we deserved this. For weeks I fine-tuned every detail. I researched restaurants with ocean views and found a hidden cove for swimming. I downloaded Emma's favorite podcasts and created the perfect road trip playlist. I even arranged with the hotel to have champagne waiting in our room. The confirmation email from the Driftwood felt like a lifeline, something bright to pull me through endless meetings and late-night reports. Confirmation for your ocean view suite, Mr. Parker, it read. We look forward to providing you and Mrs. Parker an unforgettable experience. 2 days before we were set to leave, I came home early, take-out bags in hand, ready to surprise Emma with dinner and finalize our packing list. I found her curled up on our living room couch, phone pressed to her ear, laughing in that particular way she reserved for conversations with her family. I know. She was saying, it'll be so much fun. I haven't seen you in ages. She glanced up, noticing me, and waved, but continued her call. Yeah, he'll be fine with it. Of course. You found a better deal anyway. I set the food on the coffee table, that familiar knot forming in my stomach, the one that always appeared whenever Emma's family entered the equation. After 15 minutes of listening to her end of the conversation, she finally hung up, beaming at me like she'd just won the lottery. So, she said, reaching for the takeout. Slight change of plans. I sat beside her, already sensing the fissure forming in my carefully constructed getaway. What kind of change? Chloe's joining us for the trip. Emma's enthusiasm was palpable as she unwrapped her food. She's been feeling down since her breakup with that banker guy, and she could really use the distraction. Plus, she found this amazing deal on accommodations that'll save us a fortune compared to that fancy place you booked. The knot in my stomach tightened. Chloe, Emma's younger sister by 4 years, had always been the family favorite. Pretty charismatic and perpetually in need of rescue from one crisis or another. Every holiday, every family gathering, every decision somehow bent around Chloe's needs and wants. Emma, I said carefully, measuring my words. I booked the Driftwood months ago. They have a strict cancellation policy. We'll lose the deposit. She waved her hand dismissively. Chloe already took care of that. She called and explained the situation, and they agreed to refund most of it to my account. She took a bite of her pad thai. Isn't that amazing? She's always been so good at talking to people. I set my fork down, appetite vanishing. You canceled our reservation without talking to me first? Emma's smile faltered slightly. I knew you'd understand. It's just, Chloe really needs this right now. And the place she found looks perfectly fine. It's right by the beach too, and it's half the price. But this was supposed to be our trip, I said, hearing the disappointment in my voice. Just the two of us. That was the whole point. Emma's expression shifted, that familiar look of gentle admonishment appearing. The one that always made me feel like I was being unreasonable. James. It's still our trip. Chloe will just be there too. And honestly, it'll probably be more fun with her along. You know how she always finds the best restaurants and things to do. I wanted to argue to remind her of all the nights we'd stayed up talking about escaping together, reconnecting without distractions. Instead, I swallowed hard and asked, can I at least see where we're staying now? Emma pulled out her phone and showed me a hastily taken screenshot from some budget travel site. The place looked fine, basic. Nothing like the romantic retreat I'd envisioned. "Trust me," Emma said, squeezing my hand. "It'll be great, and Chloe really needs this. She's been crying every night since the breakup." The familiar guilt set in, the same guilt that always surfaced whenever I resisted Emma's family's intrusions. Was I being selfish, unsupportive? Maybe Chloe really was heartbroken. Maybe this new arrangement would work out fine. "Okay," I finally conceded, trying to ignore the sinking feeling in my chest. "If it means that much to you." Emma's face lit up as she leaned over to kiss my cheek. "Thank you for understanding, you're the best. I promise it'll still be special." That night, as Emma slept soundly beside me, I stared at the ceiling, already mourning the trip that would never be. I pulled out my phone and looked at the confirmation email from the Driftwood one last time before deleting it. The next day passed in a blur of last-minute preparations. Emma was practically bouncing with excitement as she packed, chattering about all the fun we'd have with Chloe tagging along. I nodded and smiled, trying to recapture my enthusiasm for the trip, but each time my phone pinged with a text from Chloe, asking if we could pick her up, wondering if I could drive the whole way since her anxiety was acting up, suggesting detours to places she wanted to see. My heart sank further. The morning we were set to leave, I loaded our luggage into the trunk of my SUV, mentally recalibrating my expectations. Maybe it wouldn't be so bad. Maybe Chloe would give us some space. Maybe this new hotel would surprise me. Emma climbed into the passenger seat, immediately firing off texts to her sister. "Chloe says she's running a bit late," she informed me, "and she's wondering if we could swing by that bakery she likes on our way out of town. The one that's 20 minutes in the opposite direction." I gripped the steering wheel tighter and forced a smile. "Sure. Whatever makes everyone happy." As we pulled away from our house, I cast one last glance at my original itinerary, tucked neatly into the side pocket of my door. The perfect plans I'd made, now just ink on paper, irrelevant to the journey ahead. Despite my misgivings, I tried to push down the resentment bubbling up inside me. After all, marriage was about compromise, right? What I didn't realize then was how one-sided that compromise would become, and just how much I would end up giving away before this trip was over. After 3 hours of driving, with a 40-minute detour to pick up Chloe's essential pastries and another hour of her dominating the car's speaker system with her playlist, we finally pulled into the parking lot of what would be our home for the next 4 nights. "Here we are," Chloe announced from the back seat, as if she'd personally constructed the building. "Seaside budget suites. Told you it was right by the water." Technically, she wasn't lying. The ocean was visible, if you craned your neck past the gas station and squinted between 2 taller buildings. I stepped out of the car, stretching my back after the long drive, and took in our accommodations. The 2-story motel had probably been decent when it was built in the 1970s, but decades of salt air had taken their toll. The paint was peeling, the neon vacancy sign flickered inconsistently, and a distinct smell of mildew hung in the air. "It has character," Emma said, looping her arm through mine as if sensing my disappointment. "And think of all the money we're saving." I bit back my response, that I'd already paid for the other hotel, that this wasn't about money, but about the experience, that we could afford one nice trip just for ourselves. Instead, I nodded and began unloading the luggage. "I'm going to check on our room," Chloe said, disappearing into the office while I did the heavy lifting. 10 minutes later, with our bags piled beside me in the parking lot, Emma's phone rang. It was Chloe, asking us to meet her at room 110. We dragged our suitcases across cracked concrete, following the numbered doors until we found it. When Chloe opened the door, my heart sank even further. The room was small, dominated by 2 double beds covered in faded floral bedspreads. A dusty TV sat atop a scratched dresser, and the bathroom door didn't quite close properly. The carpet felt sticky beneath my shoes. "It's cozy," I managed, setting down our bags. Emma walked to the window and pushed aside the thin curtains. "Look, you can almost see the water if you look that way." Chloe flopped onto one of the beds, immediately pulling out her phone. "Oh, I forgot to mention, I'm actually in the suite next door. I used my portion of the refund money to upgrade." I froze. "Your portion?" "Yeah. she said casually, scrolling through her phone. When I called to cancel your reservation at that other place, they refunded the money to Emma's card. So I figured since I saved you guys so much, I deserved a little upgrade. Emma said it was fine. I turned to my wife, who suddenly seemed very interested in unpacking her toiletry bag. You gave Chloe our refund money? Not all of it, Emma said defensively. Just enough for her to get a nicer room. She's going through a rough time, James. Before I could respond, Chloe jumped up. Want to see my suite? It's amazing. Without waiting for an answer, she led us next door. The difference was stark. Her room was twice the size of ours, with a king-sized bed, sitting area, updated bathroom, and the final insult, a private balcony with an actual ocean view. Isn't it gorgeous? Chloe twirled around, beaming. I got the last executive suite. They said a lot of people request them. So I was lucky. Really lucky, I echoed hollowly, calculating exactly how much of our refund she must have spent on this upgrade. Let her enjoy, Emma whispered, squeezing my arm. She works hard too. I wanted to point out that I worked 60-hour weeks while Chloe bounced between part-time jobs, but I swallowed the words. This whole situation felt like a bad dream. Our romantic getaway had transformed into me bankrolling Chloe's luxury vacation, while we slept in what amounted to a glorified motel. Back in our room, I suggested the obvious solution. Why don't we see if they have another suite available? Or at least a room with one big bed instead of these two twins pushed together. Emma's expression shifted to alarm. Don't make it awkward, James. My family wouldn't like that. Your family isn't staying in this room, we are, I pointed out. But they'd know. Chloe would feel bad if we upgraded too, like we were competing or something. I sank onto one of the beds, which squeaked loudly under my weight. So we're stuck here while she gets the suite that our money paid for. Emma busied herself arranging her clothes in the dresser. It's just a place to sleep. We'll be out exploring most of the time anyway. Later that night, after a dinner where Chloe conveniently forgot her wallet, I opened Instagram to see her latest post, a selfie in a plush bathrobe on her ocean view balcony, champagne flute in hand. The caption read, Queen Energy. Some of us just get the best rooms. I showed it to Emma, who laughed it off. That's just Chloe being Chloe, but I couldn't shake the feeling that the caption was aimed directly at me. A smug reminder of who really mattered in this family dynamic. Night fell with a heavy silence in our cramped room. The day's frustrations had left me exhausted, but sleep seemed impossible with the constant drone of the ancient air conditioner and the faint smell of cigarette smoke that had seeped into the walls over decades. Which bed do you want? Emma asked, pulling back both covers to inspect the sheets. I gestured to the one closest to the window. That one's fine. She hesitated, biting her lip. Actually, would you mind if I take that one? The other bed is right under the air vent, and you know how I get cold. Sure, I replied, too tired to argue. I sat on the remaining bed, which immediately sank in the middle like a hammock. As I shifted my weight, something jabbed into my back. A spring that had broken through the thin mattress. Great, I muttered, examining the damage. A knock at the door interrupted my inspection. Chloe breezed in without waiting for a response, dressed in silk pajamas and holding a bottle of wine. Movie night, she announced, plopping down on Emma's bed. I brought the good stuff from the liquor store we passed. She glanced at me expectantly. You don't mind covering this on our tab, right? I'm still waiting for my paycheck to process. I nodded automatically, the way I'd been conditioned to respond whenever Chloe needed money. Then I noticed something else. She'd brought only 2 wine glasses. Sorry, she shrugged, seeing my expression. They only had 2 clean ones in my suite. You don't mind drinking from the bathroom cup, do you? Oh wait, actually, Emma and I could share. Sisters and all. Before I could respond, Emma's phone buzzed. Their mother's face appeared on the screen. Mom's FaceTiming, Emma exclaimed, answering immediately. Look who's here with us. She angled the phone to include Chloe, who waved enthusiastically. I watched from the sidelines as they launched into animated conversation, complete with inside jokes and family gossip. 10 minutes passed before Emma remembered I existed. Oh, James is here too, she said briefly, turning the phone in my direction. Hello, James. My mother-in-law said with the cool politeness she always used with me. How nice of you to take the girls on vacation. as if I were the chauffeur and not the husband who had planned and paid for everything. "We're having the best time," Chloe jumped in, directing the conversation back to herself. "You should see my suite, Mom. It's amazing." "And where are you staying?" my mother-in-law asked, her voice suddenly concerned. "Oh, just next door," Chloe replied casually. "Emma and James have the regular room." A moment of awkward silence followed. I could practically hear my mother-in-law judging me for not providing her daughters with equal luxury. "Well," she finally said, "at least you're taking care of my baby girl, James." After the call ended, Chloe brought up the topic of sleeping arrangements. "So I was thinking that bed looks awful," she said, pointing to my sunken mattress. "And I have this huge king in my room that I'm just swimming in. Emma, why don't you come stay with me tonight, like our sleepovers when we were kids?" Emma brightened immediately. "That sounds fun, but..." She glanced at me, hesitating slightly. "Go ahead," I said, forcing a smile. "I'll be fine here." "Are you sure?" Emma asked, but she was already gathering her toiletry bag. "Positive," I lied. 20 minutes later, I found myself alone in the room, staring at two equally uncomfortable beds. I tried both, but between the sagging mattress and protruding springs, sleep remained elusive. After tossing and turning for an hour, I noticed a folded couch in the corner that I hadn't paid much attention to earlier. It was short, upholstered in scratchy fabric that had seen better days, but it seemed less tortuous than the beds. I pulled out the thin extra blanket from the closet and made myself a makeshift bed on the couch. The discomfort was immediate. The cushions were uneven, with a wooden bar perfectly positioned to dig into my spine. Every movement produced a symphony of creaks, but exhaustion eventually won out, and I drifted into fitful sleep. I woke to the sound of the door opening. Sunlight streamed through the thin curtains as Emma tiptoed in. "Morning," she whispered, noticing I was awake. "Why are you on the couch?" "Beds were worse," I croaked, my back screaming in protest as I sat up. "You should have said something," she frowned. "I could have come back." "It's fine." I lied again, stretching to relieve the knots in my muscles. "How was your sleepover?" "Amazing. Chloe's bed is so comfortable, and we stayed up talking for hours." She pulled out her phone. Look at her latest post. There it was, a selfie of Emma and Chloe in plush robes, holding mimosas on the balcony with the sunrise over the ocean behind them. The caption read, "Morning views with my favorite person, sister vacation. Queen." Something inside me snapped. In that moment, standing in our dingy room with my back aching and my wife gushing over her sister's latest social media trophy, I realized I'd become nothing more than a facilitator for their good time, the wallet, the driver, the afterthought. "I'm going to shower," I said, retreating to the bathroom before Emma could see the hurt in my eyes. Under the lukewarm spray, I tried to wash away the resentment building inside me. But like the stains on the shower tiles, some things couldn't be washed clean. Day 2 of our trip dawned bright and clear, though my mood remained as cloudy as yesterday's coastal fog. After a night on that torture device masquerading as a couch, my body felt like it had been through a meat grinder. Emma suggested we explore the local shops along the boardwalk, and despite my discomfort I agreed. Anything to get out of that depressing room. Chloe joined us an hour later, looking refreshed and vibrant in her designer sundress. "I slept like royalty," she announced, stretching her arms dramatically. "That mattress is like floating on a cloud." I caught Emma shooting me a warning glance. "Don't comment. Don't make it awkward." So I bit my tongue and focused on driving us to the boardwalk. The sisters chattered excitedly in the car, planning which shops to visit and restaurants to try, while I mentally calculated how much this impromptu shopping spree would cost me. At the first boutique, Chloe held up a gauzy beach cover-up. "This would look amazing on you, Em," she gushed. The price tag dangled conspicuously. "It's gorgeous," Emma agreed, running her fingers over the fabric. "You should totally get it," Chloe urged. "James won't mind, right, James?" Both women turned to me with expectant smiles. And in that moment, like a film reel spinning backward, I saw every identical moment that had preceded this one. Last Christmas, when Chloe had convinced Emma she needed a designer handbag that cost more than our monthly car payment. Emma's birthday dinner 3 months ago, when Chloe had ordered the most expensive wine on the menu twice, and conveniently disappeared when the check arrived. The small family loan I'd provided when Chloe couldn't make rent, which was never mentioned again. let alone repaid. The pattern was so clear now, it physically hurt to recognize it. I wasn't just Emma's husband, I was their ATM. Sure, I said flatly. Why not? By lunchtime we were laden with shopping bags, mostly Chloe's, with a few items for Emma mixed in. Nothing for me, of course. We settled at an oceanfront restaurant, where Chloe immediately ordered champagne to celebrate our vacation. I'll get the check, I said automatically, when the waitress approached with the bill. Thanks, James. You're the best, Chloe chirped, not even pretending to reach for her purse. As I handed over my credit card, a memory surfaced. Our wedding reception 5 years ago. During Emma's father's toast, he joked that I was the first boyfriend who survived meeting the family. Everyone had laughed, including me. It didn't seem funny anymore. After lunch, Chloe suggested we drive to a nearby lighthouse. It's supposed to be super Instagram-worthy, she explained, already directing me which route to take. Actually, I said, surprising even myself, I think I'll head back to the hotel. My back is killing me from that couch. Seriously? Chloe rolled her eyes. It's just a lighthouse. You can take some Advil. I'd rather rest, I insisted, feeling a strange sense of liberation in this small act of resistance. Emma frowned. We can't just leave you behind. I'll be fine, I assured her. You two go ahead. Well, if you're sure. Emma's concern evaporated quickly. Maybe you could pick up some snacks for later? Oh, and Chloe needs more sunscreen. The expensive kind that doesn't clog pores. I dropped them off at the lighthouse parking lot, watching as they walked away arm in arm, already lost in conversation. On the drive back, I passed a small cafe with outdoor seating. On impulse, I pulled over and ordered a coffee. Sitting alone in the sunshine without Chloe's constant demands or Emma's accommodating compliance, I felt like I could breathe properly for the first time in days. My phone buzzed with a text from my colleague Mark, asking how the romantic getaway was going. Before I could stop myself, I'd typed out a response that laid bare the whole miserable situation. His reply came quickly. Bro, this isn't new. Remember Thanksgiving when they made you eat at the kids' table because Chloe's boyfriend needed your seat? Or when Emma canceled your anniversary dinner because Chloe had a bad date? I stared at the screen, a slow, uncomfortable realization dawning. Mark was right. This pattern hadn't started with our vacation. It had always been there, woven into the fabric of our marriage. I'd just been too blindly devoted to Emma to see it. That evening, I returned to find Emma and Chloe sprawled on the beds in our room, giggling over photos from their lighthouse adventure. They barely acknowledged my entrance, too absorbed in deciding which filters made their selfies look best. Did you get my sunscreen? Chloe asked, without looking up. I placed the pharmacy bag on the dresser. Right here. And the snacks? Emma added. I set down the grocery bag as well. All your favorites? Neither of them said thank you. That night, as I lay awake on my springy couch, listening to Emma's soft breathing from the bed, something hardened inside me. The pain in my back seemed to crystallize into resolve. This trip had become a mirror reflecting a truth I'd been avoiding for years. In Emma's world, I would always come second to her family, and I deserved better than second place. For the remaining days of our trip, I adopted a strategy of silent observation. I paid the bills, drove the car and carried the shopping bags, all while watching Emma and Chloe's dynamic with new unfiltered eyes. Every dismissive comment, every exchange that excluded me, every assumption that my wallet was community property, I mentally cataloged them all. On our final morning, as Emma and Chloe packed their numerous purchases into the luggage I would inevitably carry, I slipped away to the hotel business center. There I followed a hunch that had been forming since our first night. I need to check the details of a reservation cancellation, I told the elderly clerk at the desk, for the Driftwood Hotel, under Parker. After confirming my identity, she pulled up the information. Yes, that was cancelled 4 days ago. The refund of a $1,142.58 was processed to the original payment method, which was a Visa card ending in my card ended in 18150. And just to confirm, who requested the cancellation? The clerk checked her notes. A Chloe Parker called on behalf of Emma Parker. Said there was a family emergency. I thanked her and walked out, a cold certainty settling in my chest. Back in our room, I opened my laptop and logged into our joint bank account, which Emma rarely checked. Just as I suspected, there was no 1014,258 deposit. I checked Emma's personal account, which we'd linked for emergencies. Nothing there either. Where had the money gone? I pulled out my phone and scrolled through Chloe's recent Instagram posts. And there it was, a close-up of her perfectly manicured hand holding a shopping bag from an upscale boutique we'd passed 2 days ago, but hadn't entered. Treated myself to something special. Self-care, deserved, the caption read. The post was dated the day after we arrived. I sat back, a strange calm washing over me. The pieces fit perfectly now. Chloe hadn't just upgraded herself to the executive suite with her portion of the refund. She'd kept the entire refund, transferred it to her own card, and spent it on herself, all while I continued to bankroll our miserable vacation. And Emma had either known and covered for her sister, or been too blind to see what was happening. Neither option made me feel better. I closed my laptop and rejoined the sisters without saying a word about my discovery. The drive home was filled with their animated chatter about future trips and plans to get together soon. I nodded and smiled at appropriate intervals, already formulating my own plans. 1 week after returning home, I asked Emma to join me in our living room for a conversation. She entered cautiously, perhaps sensing something in my demeanor had changed. "Everything okay?" she asked, settling onto the couch beside me. "I've been doing some thinking since our trip," I began, keeping my voice level, "and there's something I need to show you." I handed her my phone with the screenshots I'd taken. The refund confirmation, the transfer notification from her account to Chloe's card, Chloe's shopping posts, timestamped just hours after the money moved. Emma's face drained of color. "I didn't," she started, then stopped. "Chloe said she only used part of it for the upgrade. She promised she'd transfer the rest back to me. Did you check?" Her silence was answer enough. "She stole from us, Emma. From you, and you let her." "That's not fair," Emma protested weakly. "She's my sister. She wouldn't." "She did," I interrupted. "And it's not the first time, is it? Remember the emergency loan last Christmas? Or the temporary use of our credit card when hers was lost?" Emma stared at the evidence, her defenses crumbling. "I'll talk to her. Make her pay it back." "That's not the point," I said, pulling out one final piece of paper from my pocket. "This is..." She took it, confusion crossing her features, as she read. "The Grand Oasis Spa Resort? What's this?" "Our 10th anniversary is next month," I explained. "I booked this 6 months ago, a 5-day stay in their premium oceanfront suite. Massage treatments, private dining, the works. Non-refundable." Hope flickered across Emma's face. "That sounds amazing." "It would have been," I agreed. "But I gave the reservation away yesterday." "What? To who?" "Mark and his fiancée. They just got engaged last week." They were thrilled. Emma's mouth fell open. "You did what? Why would you?" "Because I needed you to understand what it feels like," I said quietly. "To have something special taken away and given to someone else without your consent. That's completely different," she protested, anger rising in her voice. "Is it? You gave away our romantic getaway to Chloe. I'm just following your example. I can't believe you'd be so petty." Emma stood up, her hands shaking. "It was just a hotel room." "No," I corrected her. "It was a pattern. One where my feelings, my plans and my money don't matter if Chloe wants something different." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "I'll make it up to you. We can book something else." "That's not going to work this time." I stood up, gathering my keys in the small suitcase I'd packed earlier. "I've rented an apartment across town. I need some space, real space, to think about what I want." "You're leaving me? Over a vacation?" Her voice climbed with disbelief. "No, Emma. I'm leaving because I finally see where I rank in your priorities. And I deserve better than last place." The first week in my rental apartment felt like detox. No rushed explanations, when I wanted to watch my shows instead of Emma's family's favorites. No unexpected FaceTime calls interrupting dinner. No Chloe dropping by unannounced because she was in the neighborhood. Just silence, space and a firm mattress that supported my back perfectly. Emma called daily at first, her messages evolving from angry accusations, to tearful pleas to tentative apologies. I listened but remained firm in my boundaries. This wasn't a negotiation, it was a necessary separation to clear my head. On day 10, my phone lit up with a different name, my mother-in-law. James, she began without preamble, this little tantrum needs to end. Emma is devastated. I'm sorry to hear that, I replied, surprising myself with my calm. But this isn't a tantrum, it's a consequence. Over a hotel room, she scoffed. Men don't leave their wives over something so trivial. It wasn't the hotel room, I explained. It was discovering that my wife and her sister conspired to steal money from our joint account. Silence stretched between us. Then, what are you talking about? I laid out the facts, the cancelled reservation, the transferred refund, Chloe's shopping spree. When I finished, my mother-in-law's breathing had changed. Emma would never, she began. Emma might not have known initially, I conceded. But she covered for Chloe afterward, and that's just as bad. Another long pause followed. I'll call you back, she finally said. 3 hours later, my phone exploded with notifications. First came a text from Emma. We need to talk. In person. Then from my mother-in-law. I've spoken with both girls. This situation is worse than I thought. Most surprising was a message from Chloe's boyfriend, the one she'd claimed had broken up with her before our trip. Hey man, just heard what happened. For what it's worth, we never broke up. She told me she was going on a sister's trip that you were paying for. Sorry. The next day, Emma arrived at my apartment, her eyes red-rimmed from crying. I invited her in, maintaining a careful distance between us. I confronted Chloe, she said, settling onto my couch. Mom made me show her the bank statements. She admitted everything. I waited, letting her continue at her own pace. She's been doing this for years, Emma said, her voice small. Not just with the hotel. She borrowed from my personal savings account whenever she needed money. She said I wouldn't miss it since you covered all our expenses anyway. The full scope of Chloe's manipulation was finally coming to light. And what did you say to her? Emma looked down at her hands. I told her she wasn't welcome in our home until she paid back every cent. Mom agreed. Dad's making her move back home until she straightens out her priorities, as he put it. That's a start, I acknowledged. But it doesn't address what happened between us. I know, Emma wiped a tear from her cheek. I've been thinking about why I always choose her over you. I think I was afraid. Of what? Of being shut out of my family. They've always favored Chloe. If I didn't go along with what she wanted, I'd be the odd one out. She looked up at me, her expression raw with realization. But in protecting my place with them, I lost my place with you. It was the most honest thing Emma had ever said about her family dynamic. I can't come home yet, I told her gently. I need to know that things will be different. She nodded. I understand, I've started therapy to work on these boundaries. And, she hesitated. I closed our joint account and opened a new one, just for us. One that Chloe doesn't have access to. Over the following months, changes rippled through the family. Chloe, cut off from her family's financial support for the first time in her life, took a full-time job and began making small repayments to Emma. My in-laws, finally seeing their younger daughter clearly, established firmer boundaries, and Emma, working through her codependency in weekly therapy sessions, gradually became more assertive with both her sister and her parents. 4 months after moving out, I returned home. Not to the same marriage, but to a stronger one. Emma and I established clear rules about family involvement and financial decisions. We created a savings plan for a proper redo of our coastal trip, one that would be just the two of us. On the night I moved back in, Emma presented me with a gift, a new high-quality memory foam mattress for our bed. No more couches, she promised. No more putting you last. That evening, as we lay side by side on our firm, comfortable mattress, I reflected on how sometimes it takes losing something to make people value it properly. The road trip from hell had exposed fault lines in our marriage I'd ignored for years. Addressing them had been painful, but necessary. What are you thinking about? Emma asked, curling against my side. Just that I'm glad to be home, I replied truthfully. In my own bed, with my wife who sees me. And not once since then have I slept on the couch.